What's going on, everybody? We're back in here on a Thursday talking Alabama football. You know what it is? The BAMA Elite Podcast Touchdown Alabama Magazine right here on YouTube. Got the three best in the world right here. We got the man Justin Smith, the lead scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA. My right-hand man, Patrick P. Money Dow, breaking news reporter for Touchdown Alabama. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. And as always, before we get into the conversation, got to remind you guys listening that if you can't catch us, the BAMA Elite, we want you to catch us. If you cannot catch us, you got to check out the Big Game College Football Podcast Network and audio stream for the best college football coverage across the South. So definitely want to check out the Big Game College Football Podcast Network and audio stream for all of that coverage. But fellas, starting off here with you, Justin, it's Arkansas week. It's the SEC gauntlet. It starts on the road. We've been ready for this. Justin, how we feeling?
I'm feeling really good, Stephen. Like you said, SEC play continues this week against Arkansas. Real highly anticipated matchup. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. Nothing like Saturday football in the South, 2:30 kickoff. I don't think it's nothing like that during the fall.
Well, Patty, how do you feel? Pat, I mean, CBS game, 2:30, Fayetteville, Bama Hogs.
I mean, Saturdays in the fall, just like Justin said, it's just great. It's just great to have them, and you know, like we brought up, like we've mentioned numerous times before, Alabama's getting started on that treacherous gauntlet on the road against Arkansas. So it's going to be fun to see how they react.
Going to be a fun matchup. You got two coaches here, Nick Saban and Sam Pittman, and you know, Coach Saban has shown a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Pittman, as he should, because Pittman has done a great job with the Arkansas program, turning that culture around. And then Coach Pittman talked about one Henry To'o, saying that he's played some of the best ball he has seen him play. So respect on both sides here when you talk about both teams. But as we get to this pot here first, looking at the injuries that Coach Saban ran through on Wednesday, Pat, you were in that press conference getting the news and notes from Coach Saban. It seems like Jordan Battle, Byron Young still listed as day-to-day. We will see how they look today, determining will they play on Saturday. Well, we'll see how they look tomorrow, determine if they play on Saturday. And then, of course, JoJo Earle, who has been doing dry land running. He's been back at practice. Many people expect him to actually be able to go, but then we know Saban, the perfect gamesmanship. He's going to say, well, we'll see how he looks like tomorrow and walk through before we say anything. So as it stands right now, Saban a lot of the day-to-day in terms of the players here coming off of these injuries.
Yeah, all three pretty much seem to be day-to-day. I know you reported that Earl is probably going to make his return on Saturday, but in these big games against especially in conference play, key players like Battle and Byron Young, more often than not, they're probably going to give it a go. And especially when they're starting off and some of these crucial on the road games, you don't want to just thrust in an inexperienced player into that sort of environment. So I would imagine that Battle and Young would probably go through warm-up, see how they feel, and then just go from there.
I expect to see the same out of those two guys. I'm really interested in seeing how JoJo Earle is played in this next game, if he's able to play and get back on the field, because I do feel he is one of those guys Bryce Young has a little bit of confidence in, and I think that has been something we have kept our eyes on so far in terms of these wide receivers continuing to gain chemistry with Bryce Young. But I think Earle is a guy who has speed, which we have all been talking about in terms of what Alabama needs to add to their offense, with them having a lot of speed out on the injury list. When you take a look at Tyler Harrell, JoJo Earle, and also Aaron Anderson, and hopefully for the Tide, those guys can come back in the future. But JoJo Earle looks as if this could be the week that he returns. So I'm really interested in seeing how he gets plugged into the game. If he does play, when will he play? Will he get some looks very early on? Will he get worked in as the game moves on? Of course, this is a big game on the road, but he has not played this season, so you have to factor that in as well. You don't just want to throw him in, although he has some experience. You just don't want to just throw him in there in a very heated moment, I guess. We'll see how everything works out if he's able to return.
The big thing here, guys, will be just how many reps does he get if he is on the field. And going back to, he sustained the injury to his foot. This was back on August 10th during fall camp, and Coach Saban mentioned 6 to 8 week process of him getting back, and we're in week 7 of that process. So he's right there on schedule. Just determines how does he feel going through walkthrough tomorrow, and how does he feel in pregame warmups on Saturday will determine a lot of that right there. But as we look at just now, the game within the game itself, Alabama and Arkansas, 2:30 Central Time kickoff, CBS at Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And just starting this thing off here with, there are some keys here that could be looked at as meaningless. One of those keys is time of possession. Some people don't think time of possession is actually a really big deal. But in a game like Arkansas, Pat, and a team that is going to want to control the game, because I'm pretty sure Sam Pittman and Kendall Browns are looking at KJ Jefferson and saying, we don't want 9 in the Alabama offense on the field much at all. So if you can sit on this ball, if we can run the football, if we can control the pace, control the flow, control the clock and the tempo of this game, keep our fans engaged for as much as we possibly can, then we have a shot here. So in most cases, scenarios, time of possession doesn't seem like it's necessary. In this matchup, I think that statistic may be necessary, Pat.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point, actually, about time of possession, especially in your home stadium and against an Alabama defense that's been really, really good through the first couple of games of the season, especially against the run. So if KJ Jefferson and that offense can find any sort of rhythm up front, running the football, I know they always have a physical offensive line. The running back, Raheem Sanders, has been tremendous. He's run for 508 yards through about 4 games this year. He's been rolling the plate.
He's
And so,
averaging Pat over 100 yards a game.
yeah, oh yeah, and they've been dominant in the run game so far this year, and yeah, keeping Bryce Young off the field has been just not even allowing him to get back on the field with a minute to go, because he's proven that if you do that, you're probably going to get sent home sad. So just so time of possession I think is going to be very, very key for this Arkansas offense.
Yeah, I think time of possession will play a critical role in this game. I think I said this on our last show. I don't think Alabama wants to get to a point in time where Arkansas has the ball late, because their offense can really milk the clock just with KJ Jefferson, what he's able to do. And if you are Arkansas's offensive coordinator, their entire coaching staff, let's keep Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, off of the field as much as possible, because you know what happens, like you said, Pat, if you give him one chance too many. So we'll see what happens, but I'm really interested in seeing how Alabama can contain KJ Jefferson. I know we're probably going to talk about him a little bit more later in the show as a whole, but I think time possession will be very important. Hopefully, for the Crimson Tide, they can take advantage of as many opportunities as they get. But if I am Arkansas, we're going to hold on to this football as much as possible. Score here and there, and they have a pretty fantastic offense themselves, very physical type of offense that can move the football in the air and on the ground, pretty balanced, although they do have, like you guys said, a 500-yard running back already, along with KJ Jefferson, who has rushed for 200 yards. So they have a pretty good offense, a pretty nice team. That's why I'm so excited to watch this matchup.
So, Justin, as we look at this angle here, and I know people are going to talk about the crowd noise that's going to be a factor here in Arkansas. So, in your opinion, Justin, in a game like this, where naturally, if Alabama were to win the coin toss, you would want to go on offense first, because you would want to score first and get Arkansas on the heels early. But in this sense, because of the fact that when Arkansas has the ball, their crowd is not going to be loud. So if you're Alabama, if you win the coin toss, would it be better to go on defense first, where the crowd is not loud, and you have a chance to early get some frustration to KJ Jefferson?
I think our momentum is very important on the road for both teams. So I'm pretty sure Nick Saban is going to weigh that in terms of how things work out. I think in a game like this, similar to Texas, you don't want Arkansas to get any momentum early, because that hurts in these type of games. Going back to that Texas game, the Longhorns fans saw, we got a chance to win this game. So that amped them up even more, though they were amped up heading into that matchup. But when you give them some momentum, of course, Arkansas is they're not as highly as ranked as they would be if they beat Texas A&M last week, but they're still a pretty nice team in terms of their rank and everything. But it is Alabama for them. They haven't beat Alabama in quite some time. So it is going up against the Crimson Tide. The fans are hyped for this matchup for the first time in a long time. It looks as if they have a chance heading into the matchup. So I think their fans are definitely going to be amped. You give them any type of momentum, a lead, 3-point lead, any type of lead, they're close in the game. Their fans are definitely going to be involved in the matchup. And I think that goes along with that environment, with that momentum. So I think early momentum is going to play a huge role in that. And that is probably why the coin toss will play a huge role in all of that.
Yeah, I always kind of think you should defer to the second half just to get that extra opportunity out of halftime. That's just the way that's just the way football kind of makes sense to me. If you win the coin toss, again,
the Bill Belichick way, Pat.
Yep, absolutely. There's the Belichick way that's worked out great for us this year. But just get that extra possession out of halftime. That's just what I always think is kind of just by the numbers, ordinary. Played safe.
Going to be interesting to see how that coin toss thing works there. I mean, the reason why I kind of brought it up was just due to normally when the opposing team's offense is on the field, that crowd is electric. You can't hear the snap count. You can't hear the clap cadence or whatever cadence you're going with versus when the home team's offense is on the field. But if Alabama does, win that toss and chooses to take the ball, and the offense comes out the gate smoking quickly the way it did against Vanderbilt just this past week, putting points on the board, then it wouldn't really matter anyway. And then to me, I look at third down is going to be the tail of the tape. Third down, Alabama getting off the field on third down, whether it's third and short, third and long, third and medium. And with Alabama's offense staying on the field on third down, really wearing on an Arkansas defense that they got some dudes. I mean, Bumper Poole's been there for a minute. Drew Sanders transferring there from Alabama has had a good season. They've got guys on the defensive side of the football. Sam Pittman, he's an offensive mind, but he loves guys that can play defense also. And Arkansas brings the lunch pail. They bring the hard hat mentality. So, Pat, the third down, getting off the field for the defense, and then the third down for Alabama's offense, finding ways to wear the Razorbacks tired there.
Yeah, that's going to be really key because Drew Sanders has been great, especially in the pass rush, 5.5 sacks on the year, and also their other defensive lineman, Jordan Dominic, 4.5 sacks. I mean, they'll get at their defense gets after you, and honestly, the best way to neutralize a pass rush is to sustain 9, 10, 11 play drives. So by the time in the fourth quarter, they got nothing left in the tank. So then Alabama can have these deep pass plays later in games to try to, if it's close, that'll be really key to convert some third downs throwing the football. So I think it's going to be really key to help to convert on third downs and keep drives alive.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Looking at Bryce Young, hopefully him and the wide receivers that Alabama have that will be on the field with him have some built up chemistry now because he's going to need those guys in a lot of those third and long situations. But in terms of third down, the situation that I am looking at is Will Anderson and Dallas Turner when they are defending KJ Jefferson, because if you get up the field past him, he's going to step up in the pocket. He's going to run and escape the pocket. And he's not one of those runners who's going to run left, run right. He's running straight to get as many yards as possible. May truck you. He doesn't do a great job at sliding. Sometimes it looks if he gives himself up, not the best and safest way. But he's one of those quarterbacks who's going to get up the field if that pass rush gets past him. So I think you're going to have to be a little bit more disciplined when you're getting up the field when you're talking about those edge rushers on third and long. And if they are consistently converting third and longs, those can extend drives, and those drives are going to be long. And I think that goes into what we were talking about earlier in terms of time of possession. So I'm really interested in seeing that, because that is something that I saw with Texas A&M, because Texas A&M has a good defensive line as well. So they got up the field a lot of times, and KJ Jefferson just stepped up in the pocket and took off 10, 15 yards easily. No one else touched him until he got about 10 yards down the field. So I'm interested in seeing how that dynamic works on third down. I
do wonder, too, if Nick Saban will put Henry To'oTo'o as a spy on Jefferson, especially on third down. If it's like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, just put a spy on him. Just have your bases covered, because he's been playing really, really well as sideline to sideline football. He's been playing really fast his second year in the program. So I just wonder if they'll utilize him as a spy early on in the game.
So Justin, you brought up a good point there about the edge rushers, Will Anderson and the Dallas Turner. So in your opinion, is it going to be more important for them or the defensive line to collapse the pocket to where KJ really can't step up in there? Is this more of the game where you see a Boyd B, DJ Dale in action, Jaheim Otis, those guys really collapse the pocket to where KJ really can't step up, so it forces him to come out, and if he comes out, then here's the speed of Will Anderson, then here's the speed of Dallas Turner. So is it more so the edge rushers, or is it more so the front guys on the line shrinking that pocket so KJ can't step up in there?
I think you said exactly right, Stephen. They're going to have to do that, because he sees that lane. If any type of lane is open up, he doesn't. He's not a quarterback who's going to just take off running. If he doesn't see his first guy open, he's going to go through his reads. He looks really comfortable in the pocket this season, so he's going to definitely go through his reads. So everybody's going to have to keep that in mind. If you give him any type of lane, specifically up the middle, he's going to take advantage of that. So I'm pretty sure Alabama's coaching staff has been prepping for that in terms of how they will rush them, especially in those passing situations. So I think throw some stunts that like you said, collapse the pocket in terms of the interior guys. But if you open up that lane by getting up the field really fast, which we all know that Will Anderson can do, that can open up a lane, and KJ Jefferson is definitely going to take it.
Going to be interesting to see here how Pete Golding and Nick Saban choose to kind of tinker through this in terms of getting pressure to KJ Jefferson, but also being able to disguise what they want to do on the back end. And speaking of the back end, Pat, here we go for this Alabama secondary. First big test since the Longhorns. And, Texas had Jordan Whittington and Xavier Worthy. Arkansas's got, Jayden Hazelwood Arkansas's got Trey Knox, a tight end who's really good. They've got some weapons out there that KJ is going to want to get these guys the football. Here's a game where Terrion Arnold, a game where Kool-Aid McKinstry can develop an identity as corners that can play sound, that can play technique, that can be physical. Now, be shut down corners, can't really quite say that yet, but at least to an extent of limit what Hazelwood, Knox, and this receiver core can do for Arkansas. Pat, what do you want to see from Arnold and McKinstry out there on that boundary?
Well, I think they're going to have a little bit easier time than they did against Texas, and because I don't know if KJ Jefferson necessarily has the kind of touch that Quinn Ewers would have, because he's a little more of a traditional passer. But so I think they're not, and I don't know if there's a guy on Arkansas that's going to be that kind of home run guy, but they do have a couple like Hazelwood. I'm pretty sure he's 6'5", so he's a pretty big wide receiver. So it just presents a different kind of challenge for these corners. So I think just staying sound in the fundamentals and not being overwhelmed by the moment of another game on the road. And I think the Texas experience, especially for someone like Terry and Arnold to go to Texas and actually play pretty well, is going to go a long way for him to carry over into this game. So it's a completely different challenge than they had the first time around. But just to see the next level of development would be, like you said, they're not necessarily lockdown corners yet, but just take the next steps there.
I think discipline and communication is going to be very important for the secondary in that loud environment, because a lot of times I think going back to when they lost against Texas A&M last year, guys were like super wide open. And when guys are dead open against your secondary, it's usually because of lack of communication. I thought you were going to be there. We both thought we had it under control, but that is usually what happens on the back end when a guy is dead wide open. But Arkansas can take the top off of your defense. And I think the guy who's going to be their target for that, I think his name is Keytron Jackson. I think he's a relatively younger wide receiver on the roster, so he's the guy to watch out for in terms of that home run hitter. They have the offense to get the ball down the field. Of course, KJ Jefferson doesn't have the best arm, but he definitely can get it there in terms of pushing the football down the field. So we'll be interested to see how the secondary competes against that. You definitely have to have the communication. I haven't dived too much into the Razorbacks film as much as I wanted to this week, but I am interested in seeing how the communication is on the back end.
I will say though, with the communication they brought up, Justin, if Jordan Battle can't go, then that might be a huge issue for Alabama in this environment. But he's like the second quarter with Henry To'oTo'o in the middle. He's like going to have another signal call on the back end that knows where everything needs to be, relaying those messages. So if he can't go, that could actually be a problem for Alabama in this game.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Pat. Yeah, the communication, like you said, Jordan Battle, the veteran safety, DeMarco Hellams is back there as well. Maybe that responsibility goes over to him, but I think that's something we have to keep our eyes on. If Battle cannot go, because communication is going to be very important. Also, KJ Jefferson, although most of the times when he tucks and run, he goes, but he may use that to his advantage. We've seen that a couple of times. Guys made those crazy passes against Alabama. They basically throw the football right before they cross the line of scrimmage. I think that could possibly be a play that we have to keep our eyes on. Maybe Jefferson takes advantage of the fact that they are going to try to come down when they see me tuck and run. Maybe I tuck and run and throw it. So maybe I think that all goes into Alabama secondary being disciplined and having great communication.
Going back to Jordan Battle, once again, people, we will see how he looks and walk through on Friday, getting ready for the Saturday's matchup against Arkansas. But speaking of communication, the offensive line for Alabama, another road game. The communication for this group, when Alabama's offense takes the field, it's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy atmosphere in there for the likes of Tyler Steen and Cohan and Darian Dalcourt, Tyler Booker, and J.C. Latham. But the big thing here is Alabama's offensive line against Arkansas's defensive front will be one of the most intriguing matchups. Arkansas's got some dudes up front, and the reunion of Will Anderson and Drew Sanders, who will have the better game? Both of these two came in to Alabama in the 2020 class. They both were 5 stars. Justin, you had Drew Sanders with a diamond grade of 1. You had him as a guy that would be an immediate impact player, and he was before he got hurt, unfortunately, against Ole Miss. So, Justin, your scouting of Drew Sanders was spot on. Both of these two came in as 5 stars. So they're both on opposite ends of the spectrum in this game. Will talked about how excited he is for Drew. But Justin, the communication for the offensive line, can this group limit Drew Sanders and Bumper Pool from getting to Bryce Young?
I think Alabama fans are going to be on the opposite side of things now. They're used to seeing Will Anderson dominate tackles, but now you're going up against a former Alabama player, Drew Sanders, who can do a little bit of the same. Although I feel Will Anderson may be a little bit better of a pass rusher than Will Anderson may be a little bit better of a pass rusher than Drew Sanders. Sanders is, I think, undoubtedly a little bit better in space than Will Anderson is in terms of dropping back in coverage. That is why he was most likely going to be a true inside linebacker if he stayed in Tuscaloosa. So I think they have contrasting styles. But in terms of the offensive line for Alabama, yeah, they are going to get tested. I'm wondering how those guys will stand up when it's going to be Drew Sanders alone on a tackle because he has the power, he has the moves, he has the size. He's a great edge rusher. He has been causing disruption throughout the season. So, yeah, we're going to keep our eyes on that matchup. We'll be interested to see how Alabama's tackles stack up against him. Will they double team him, chip him like we've seen people do against Will Anderson? Will Bill O'Brien do what other teams have done against Will Anderson, roll away from him, do certain things to limit him? Because you have to respect his presence like teams have been respecting Will Anderson's presence throughout this season.
Yeah, and this is going to be this could be the Alabama, especially their tackles blocking someone like Drew Sanders. It's going to be the tackles' first true test in a couple weeks. I know, even though I think they actually both their tackles, J.C. Latham and Tyler Sheen, have actually played pretty well this year. I mean, the last two games, with all due respect to ULM and Vandy, they haven't had exactly game wreckers on the edge. But Drew Sanders is one of those guys, like we brought up, and it's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know if Bill O'Brien would necessarily scheme away from him, not necessarily from the start. They may just see how they can hold up. But, if it's anything like the Texas game, then Alabama better buckle up because it's going to be it's going to be pretty difficult.
It's intriguing just due to, and Justin brought this up, like just a season ago, you had Will Anderson and Drew Sanders both in the same defensive system formation. Now you have Will remaining at Alabama. You have Drew Sanders at Arkansas having an incredible year. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be dynamic to watch that whole interaction there take place and take shape. But as we flip this kind of back to the Alabama wide receivers here for a minute, a big moment for them because you took the Vanderbilt game, you gained confidence with Bryce Young. Ja'Cory Brooks had 117 yards receiving, 6 catches, 2 touchdowns. He had a big day. And it opened everything up for everybody else. In this matchup, Pat, is it Ja'Cory Brooks again? Do we see where Jermaine Burton has the hot hand? Is this another game where Trayshawn Holden may have the hot hand? How do you see this going?
I think it's got to be a collection of all of them. They all eventually, someone's got to show some level of consistency because Ja'Cory Brooks played great last week against Vanderbilt. He didn't really do much the first couple games of the year, and then Trayshawn Holden caught a couple touchdowns week one. Then he had a little bit of a slower start. Same with Jermaine Burton. Some really inconsistent performances, and it's kind of been a new guy taking that mantle. And the Kobe Prentice is another one of those guys who had a really big first game, then it got disappeared. So it's gonna be really fascinating to see which one of them steps up. If it is Ja'Cory Brooks, if it is Trayshawn Holden, I think those two guys have been in the system. Holden and Bryce Young, like we've mentioned, they were roommates. They're very close to each other. So it's going to be interesting to see. I would have those two guys circled in my eyes as two guys who could potentially step up in that receivers room.
Yeah, I think we definitely have to keep our eyes on Ja'Cory Brooks, especially after that last game. I think Bryce Young has a lot of confidence in him, even going back to that Texas game. Ja'Cory Brooks made some key catches down the stretch. I think it was like a 4th down play he made. It was his first catch of the game. So I think Ja'Cory Brooks.
And Justin, you're right. I think that was 4th and 5 on the last drive, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Ja'Cory Brooks is a guy who Bryce Young has a lot of confidence in. I think he lost some confidence in a couple of guys earlier in the season. I think it was it Louisiana Monroe game where he threw multiple picks. It was the game where he threw multiple picks.
And that game was a lot of miscommunication. There was the throw to Isaiah Bond. Bond thought he was running a straight go. Bryce is like no post in. They got crossed up, and that was a pick there. And then there was one where he was trying to get to Ja'Cory. That ball was slightly behind Brooks. Now, Brooks could have still maybe reached back and made the play, but if that ball was thrown a little bit better, it would have been straight on, and then that ball got picked off there too. So it was a bit of miscommunication against ULM. And then also in that game, you have Jermaine Burton running free, and then Bryce just missed him on the deep shot there.
I think he's going to go back to the confidence in these guys. I think he tried to get Burton. Remember going back to the earlier in the season, he tried to hit Burton a lot down the field, but nothing came of it. So I think that sort of shook his confidence in him a little bit, because you want a wide receiver who can make the play. And I think this is going to be a game where he's going to need some guys to make some plays in terms of being a wide receiver, because you may not have all of the crazy separation that you want to have. I got to trust that you are going to make an effort to be in the best position to catch this football, because if you are big time wide receivers make big time plays in big games. So you're going to need one of those guys to step up. Ja'Cory Brooks would be my prediction to be that guy, but you're going to need some guys to step up and be great wide receivers in games like this throughout the season. If you want to make the statement that you feel you are a good wide receiver, and that is where I think the confidence is going to grow with Bryce Young. It seems as if Alabama wanted to get Jermaine Burton more so into the game, but I think it was more so the scheme of, how can we get him the football? But I think in a matchup like this, it isn't exactly going to be, how can we get you the football? When we run the plays, I need you to step up and make the play when it's time to make it.
Justin sitting here quoting a Santana Moss from those Miami Hurricanes, big time players making big time plays in big games there. I see you watched the U part too, Justin. A little ESPN 30 for 30 action right there. Before we get to my man Pat with Prize Picks and the awesome stuff that they do over there. So, guys, I kind of want to flip this to Kool-Aid McKinstry here for a moment. How big could punt returns be in this game? Go back to 2020, it was kind of tough there, Bama and Arkansas, and then Devontae Smith broke an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown. One of the big reasons why he was able to win that Heisman Trophy, and that took place in Fayetteville. Pat, could we see another game where a punt return, Kool-Aid McKinstry, can have an impact here?
I mean, he's had a little bit of a hot streak on the returns. I think it was last game where he had the fumble, I'm pretty sure it was Kool-Aid. It was Kool-Aid or Brian Branch fumbled. I'm pretty sure it was Kool-Aid.
They both did, but the fumble by Branch's fumble was recovered by Malachi Moore. Kool-Aid's fumble was lost.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure his return was after. I'm pretty sure his fumble was after a pretty lengthy return.
Yeah, it was a good return. It was a good return.
When he gets the ball in his hands, he's really good at reading the blocks and actually returning it. That could be very, very key for Alabama, especially if the offense is just kind of stalling and struggling a little bit, kind of just to flip the field, give him a short field, just trying to help him out there. So it could play a huge part if the offense does get out to a little bit of a slow start.
Yeah, they can get some momentum with him, getting some down the field, helping field position. I think that's going to be the most important part in terms of consistency. Make sure he feels the football. Definitely, you do not want to fumble in this matchup, so you definitely have to be disciplined in terms of knowing when to possibly take it for a couple of yards or when to just fair catch it and everything. Of course, we all know that it's Nick Saban's first priority in terms of returning punts, but if he can make some plays on any punt game, will definitely be huge. If he can take one back, will be even better. Non-offensive touchdowns can be really huge, especially in matchups like this where the game can be really close in the end. So we'll keep our eyes on Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm pretty sure Arkansas is aware of what he can do. Maybe they kick away from him. Maybe they respect that, but we'll see if they give him a chance or anything like that.
Absolutely. So right now we go to my man Pat Dowd. So Pat, Prize Picks, what they got for us?
Yeah, Prize Picks, a daily fantasy app. So at Prize Picks, all first-time users that deposit and use our promo code will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100 back. Prize Picks is the best way to have action on the game in states like California, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and over 70% of the United States. Prize Picks is currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So how does it work? You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will go score more or less than their prize pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. So at Prize Picks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's and women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Prize Picks entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. Prize Picks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Download Prize Picks today and play daily fantasy sports with us, make sure to use our promo code BAMA100. Again, that's BAMA100 when you sign up. And this game's prize pick selections, it's going to be another heavy Bryce Young one. His more or less for pass completions is set at 21.5. I believe he's going to have more than 21.5 pass completions against this Arkansas defense, because I think they're going to be able to. I think Alabama will have to rely on the pass game a little bit more, especially on the road, and especially if he has the ball late down the stretch, it's going to be all passes. And also, with his passing yards set at 309.5, I think he'll also get more than that. I think, like I said, again, Alabama's passing game, I think will progress to that point where they'll be able to effectively move the football. And then my third one is Jace McClellan. Jace McClellan's been running the ball really, really well of late, really physically. And again, that Texas game, he ripped off a big yard, over 50-yard touchdown. And his projection is set at 60, more or less than 61.5 yards. I feel like he's going to get more than 61. I feel like I would lock that in, that he's going to have more rushing yards than 61.5, because I think he's been on a roll lately. I think they're going to lean on him, especially in the run game.
Pat, I agree with. I agree. I like the more on both of those for Bryce Young, and then Jace McClellan is on a mission, and we saw him talk about it in fall camp. He mentioned that Jahmyr Gibbs brings the speed, yes, but I bring the power, and we've been seeing the power of Jace McClellan. We're still seeing the speed of McClellan also. So he is back to where he was last year prior to him getting hurt against Ole Miss. So Pat, I would agree with you right there.
Yeah, everyone definitely needs to get an opportunity to download Prize Picks. The app is a great app, BAMA 100. Get that deposit match. But yeah, I like those projections that you picked. Pat, there are some others. I know Trayshawn Holden and Jace McClellan, like you said. I think Trayshawn Holden's 4 receptions, 59 receiving yards. Those two are a bit tricky just based on how inconsistent he has played. I think those are both like his averages right now. So yeah, I can't even pick one of those. I think the safe projections are with Pat.
Yeah, it's always tough with the receivers picking the specific receivers, because it's been a different guy for through all the games. Someone else has stepped up, like Ja'Cory Brooks, like we mentioned, had a massive game. There was Trayshawn Holden, there was Jermaine Burton, and then maybe it was Jahmyr Gibbs, who's their best receiver. So it's so unpredictable to this point in the year.
The game of musical chairs and wide receiver for the Crimson Tide. And speaking of wide receivers, guys, Alabama could be getting one speedster back for this game against Arkansas. JoJo Earle, sophomore from Texas, who has been practicing all week here for Bama, did some dry land running last week. This week we've seen him in practice, in videos, going through routes on air drills, working with his positional unit at wide receiver. He does not have anything on his foot, on his leg. He has no support there. He's been running free with nothing there on the leg. And what's intriguing here is he got hurt on August 10th, foot fracture on August 10th. Saban said it'll be a 6 to 8 week process to get him back. We're in the 7th week now. So he's right there on schedule to be back. So he's very well in position to play in this game. The question is, how will he look tomorrow in walkthroughs? And then on top of that, should he play? How many reps does he get? How many snaps does he get? Justin, you brought this up earlier before you came on. Do you throw him out there early? Do you spot play JoJo Earle just to see how he feels, how he's comfortable out there? We know Saban likes to lean on Jeff Allen and the medical staff. Is he good? Is he good? Is he good to go? And knowing JoJo, if JoJo says I'm good, he's going to be good to go. But the point to ask you, Justin, would be, if he's out there playing, how many snaps or reps could you see JoJo Earle getting?
Well, I think that all goes back to how he looks in practice. I know we have only seen a limited amount because we are a bit limited this year in terms of watching Alabama's practice. But I think it all goes back to that. How comfortable does he look in terms of running on dry land right here? So I think that is going to be the most important factor. I think we're going to have a better answer to that question once you guys see him in warm up, see how he's moving, see if there is a limp, see if he's favoring one leg or another, see if he looks just smooth and looks as if he's having no problem, looks to be 100% healthy. I think once we can get our eyes fully on him back during a possible warm up, I think we'll have a little bit of a better answer to that. But I think that all goes into the game plan. Of course, if Alabama comes out smoking hot with all of those wide receivers hitting on all cylinders, maybe they will not go to him. But hey, if you need another guy to change up things because these guys are not on the same page as Bryce Young, dropping passes. They're not where they are supposed to be. Bryce Young doesn't have confidence in these guys. He's holding on to the football. That maybe pushes JoJo Earle on the field a little bit earlier because he does have some experience playing with Bryce Young and some experience in Alabama system. So I think all of those factors will play a role in how much he will play.
Yeah, I think it's also going to be performance based because I don't know if they're going to necessarily give him JoJo Earle snap count, but if he has a couple catches for a bunch of yards, then may leave him out there.
I also kind of want to see, do they have him still on punt return too, though? Where they have him on punt? We'll see that though. But 2AM Views writes in. Will we see Harrell and Aaron Anderson come back? Everyone's talking about JoJo Earle. In terms of Harrell and Anderson, Harrell could be Texas A&M. That could be the week for him. Aaron Anderson could be that same week, or it could be somewhere down the line. But I think Harrell, some people are saying Harrell for Arkansas. Others are saying they're not quite sure. That's why for Harrell, I'm more so leaning to Texas A&M. As far as Aaron Anderson is concerned, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he should be back for the season ends. He should definitely be back for the season ends.
Yeah, I think Harrell, there's been a little bit of radio silence on Harrell. I know there's been previous reports about him being back and ready for Arkansas, but it's been, like I said, pretty much radio silence from Nick Saban about any updates from Harrell. So, again, I'm with you. I'd maybe lean toward Texas A&M, but, could be surprised he could suit up Saturday. I don't know, but I would lead more towards a Texas A&M return for him.
I know the last question that we'll address in here, and this was a good one. I think it was Tyler Cologne Connoisseur wrote that in there, and it was how long until we see Tyler Booker become? No, yeah, it was YSL Cologne Connoisseur. There we go. And he was asking how long before Tyler Booker is a full-time starter on the offensive line. We've seen him get in there. We've seen him been worked in there at both guard spots, and he has been that dude. When people are saying how aggressive you are, how physical you are, how dominant you are, how exceptional you are, even as a young player, and the energy and juice that you provide, it's a big deal. So Pat, in your opinion, how long will it be before we see Tyler Booker as a full-time starter?
It could be a week. It could be next year because it's really tough I think we'll get a better grasp this weekend because in the past couple weeks, Alabama's rotated pretty early in the games, especially receiver and offensive line, even the linebacker, just getting guys some experience. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues. I kind of doubt it, especially since this is such a big game. So maybe the first unit you see might be the one that they roll with, and maybe not be unless someone isn't playing up the par in the interior. Then maybe Tyler Booker will join in. But when he's gotten opportunities, he's actually done really well. So it'll be interesting to see who that first group is this Saturday.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a better snapshot of, like you said, the depth because the last couple of weeks have given Alabama opportunities to sub out a lot more. This week will not give them that opportunity. The rest of the season will most likely not give them that opportunity. So we'll see if he is actually going to make a push to be in that rotation consistently or if they're going to go with those five guys for most of the game. So we'll keep our eyes on that. I know going back to watching him at IMG Academy, every kid that comes out of IMG Academy has a different type of swagger to them. They have a different type of confidence because they play at IMG Academy. They play a national schedule throughout the season. They are playing against the best teams across the country. So I think they have a different type of swagger and confidence. I think he's one of those guys who bleeds that type of confidence. He just has he was at IMG Academy a lot more than most guys are usually there. A lot of guys like to go there. Hey, I'm going to go there 1 year experience, get that opportunity. He was there like 2 to 3, possibly 4 years. So I think he's one of those guys who just has that type of confidence. I thought going into Alabama from IMG Academy that he was the most college-ready offensive lineman who the Crimson Tide signed in that particular recruiting class. Just taking a look at his versatility, he played left tackle for most of the time at IMG Academy during his senior season, but he has experience playing guard. That is why Alabama has him playing there. Yeah, nasty offensive lineman, great size, quick feet, and once you have those particular traits already, it's a little bit easier to teach you some of those things, especially you have that physicality, you have that great size. Okay, you check most of the boxes. Let's teach your technique a little better, make sure that you know the playbook and everything. And he's a pretty smart offensive lineman as well, and I think that is one of the reasons why he has found himself on the field so early.
Well, guys, we're again to our favorite time, that prediction time. The line on this one, I think it's 16.5 or 17.5 in favor of Alabama against Arkansas. So we swing this over here to Pat P Money, Vegas man down. So Pat, 16 or 17.5. Does Bama cover this? What's your prediction? And do we have an offensive and defensive player of the game?
This one's kind of tough with the spread because it's 17.5. And Arkansas has struggled the past couple weeks, especially against A&M. They let the Devin Chain run all over them, and even the week before against Missouri State, I think they let their quarterback throw for over 330 yards. So, but Alabama is so inconsistent on the road in hostile environments. I feel like 17.5 is pretty significant. So I don't know if Alabama covers this week. So I'm going to lock in. Alabama's not going to cover the 17.5 this week. I do believe that they will win, but my players of the game, I'm looking at again, Henry To'oTo'o, middle linebacker. I think it's going to be he's going to have to be really important in terms of stopping KJ Jefferson and this Arkansas running attack. And on offense, the boring from Justin's rolling off on me, so I'm going to go Bryce Young because he seems to be the only one who consistently steps up on the road when things get tough. So I'm going Bryce Young and Henry To'oTo'o. I'm going boring. I don't really like it, but I'd rather be right.
Yeah, those are some nice picks. I'm going to stay the boring route with you on with the player of the game, but yeah, for the score prediction, I'm thinking 35-24. Pretty much thinking the same thing. You're thinking Pat. I think it's going to be tough game throughout the matchup, tough SEC matchup. So we'll see what happens late in the game. I think the Crimson Tide will make a couple of plays late. Probably be Bryce Young in terms of him being the quarterback. So I'm thinking 35-24. As a score prediction, I think it's going to be a pretty good game for a game that's going to go on 4 quarters. As far as my player of the game, I'm going to go with Will Anderson because I think although everyone knows he's the most dominant player in college football as an edge rusher, how he can get to the quarterback. But I think there are some questions surrounding how good is he in space? What better opportunity will he have this game? Because KJ Jefferson is going to try to escape. And Will Anderson can make some plays on Jefferson. I think that adds to his already pretty high draft stock. But I think that just shows what he has consistently wanted to work on. If you could point out any weakness in Will Anderson, you probably say, we haven't seen him a lot in space, probably dropping back. I think that is something that some guys may point out towards when it comes to his draft. So I think this is going to be a good opportunity for Will Anderson to show that. So I think he's going to be the player of the game, in my opinion, in this matchup, give him an opportunity to step up in a big game. But as far as on the offensive side of the football, I'm going to go with Ja'Cory Brooks. I think Brooks is going to have another good game. I think Bryce Young if he's going to have a good game, I think Ja'Cory Brooks is going to play a huge role in that just based on the confidence that he has in Brooks.
Okay. Here we go. So on my end here, score prediction, I'm going to go 38-17. So that'll be mine. I got 38-17 in favor of Alabama. My player of the game offensively, and I'm going to say this just because I just think he's on a serious mission. I'm going to go Jace McClellan again. I just think Jace is on a serious mission, and I definitely see him having a huge performance. Remember, it was Jace's freshman year where he had an 81-yard touchdown against Arkansas. I think that was 2020. Yes, it was. So I think Jace kind of recalibrates back from that moment. Defensive player of the game here. You know what? I'm going to go with the guy that's been showing up, and I haven't talked about him much. Justin Eboigbe, come on down. I haven't talked about Eboigbe much. He's been showing up.
He's been really good.
He's been showing up. He's been playing well. He's been blowing stuff up. I think this week we'll see more of a Boygby be that impactful guy on the front line. So I go Jace McClellan and Justin Boygby.
Yeah, I agree. I think Justin Boygby is a little bit of like a lot of these interior guys, whether it's offensive line, defensive line, they don't get a ton of love, but he's quietly had a pretty good year for Alabama.
Yeah, I like those picks. I think Justin Boygby could have a good game, especially with KJ Jefferson moving up. Maybe moves up in the pocket and moves right into Justin Boygby in terms of him getting that rush in the interior. So I think Boygby is a nice pick. Jason McClellan, like you said, he is on a roll, so we'll see what happens. He's having a lot of success getting the football out of the backfield, and he plays early. I think he's going to play early undoubtedly.
Well, folks, we got Alabama and Arkansas coming up on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff, CBS from Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Should be a fun matchup, should be an entertaining matchup. We will see how the Crimson Tide looks, and can it have that identity after this game, the identity that we've all been talking about. Will this be the week that Alabama finds that on both sides here of the football? But this has been the BAMA Elite Podcast Touchdown, Alabama Magazine, right here on YouTube. For Justin Smith, scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, Patrick Dowd, breaking news reporter for us as well. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. We'll catch you guys Sunday for the recap. But until then, it's been the BAMA Elite.